I was thinking about a theme for this little event, and a lot of themes come to mind, but there is something that connects all of us in this room. And it's not just family. I mean, we could talk about family, and I've talked about that many times. And I think it's important to understand that if you have strong families, you have strong societies, and if you have strong societies, you should have strong governments. But as Thomas Paine said 200 and something years ago, don't confuse government with society, because he says society is a product of men's and women's affection for each other. That's why they get together and are happy to be in neighborhoods, in villages and cities. And he says government is something else. Government is needed to protect man against man. In order to, as society is a product of men's virtues, and when I say men's, I always mean women's, men's and women's virtues, government is there because of men's vices, believe it or not. And keep that in mind. That was said over 200 years ago. And the reason I'm proud to say that I'm a conservative, and whether you're a Democrat or Republican, that's not the issue. The reason I'm proud to say that I'm a conservative is that I really believe in that. I believe in people, society, families. When it comes to government, I believe in as little government as possible. And I hope you feel the same way. And speaking of conservative, let me now start off before I get in, because you know me, when I get to talking, I may forget all the important people here. I don't want to do that. But we have Vince Neutrala. Vince, stand up. He's the leader of the Conservative Party in Westchester County. He's also Italian, and he's also a friend, so he's here for 3 reasons today. This is, by the way, I know there are others besides Italians. Don't get nervous. I'm going to talk about you too, but don't forget, this is St. Joseph's Day, for me at least, the 19th. We couldn't celebrate it on Thursday. And if you want to hear from my mother, I may have her up here. She'll tell you why St. Joseph's Day is such an important day in my family, because my father was Joseph, I'm a Joseph, there are a lot of Josephs, and she's got this beautiful story about when I was born, the oldest son, how my father closed the store. He ran out to get the Zeppola and the Strega and everything else, invited the people over. It was a real celebration. But it wasn't just that it was St. Joseph's Day. That's how the Italian families kept their identity with their culture. They found excuses like St. Joseph's Day and birthday parties and Lord knows what to get the family together. And we got to do more of that. Today the family, right? You know what's replaced Grandma and Grandpa today in the family? The TV set. And we may have to change that, because that TV set is not sending off those nice warm signals like Grandma and Grandpa did. And that's what we need more of. And before I forget, because I don't want to say that this is an Italian event, you have kind of a United Nations here today. And I'm proud to say that my viewpoint, or my world's view, is that we must respect each other no matter who we are. And I started off by saying I could be trite and say this is a celebration of family, but I want to do something even better, because this is a celebration, I believe, of the brotherhood of man. The world has never been as good as it is today for people to respect each other. Look what's happening now in Eastern Europe. Look what happened to the Soviet Union. Finally, the evil empire, as President Reagan described it, has collapsed. Now, is it dead and buried? No. And I've criticized President Bush for that, because we still have communism in Serbia, and you still have communism in Albania, and you still have it in China, and you have it yet in Cuba, but they're going to go because they've lost the godfather. He's not going to get that $5 billion a year anymore, so you'll see how fast communism goes when you can't feed it with artificial support called money. And that's the way they've survived over the years. But it's not dead and buried. Today is another important day, or important for another reason, because as we speak, the country of Albania is having its first fair and free election. I say first because I was there last year on Easter Sunday. I went to Mass with Mother Teresa, the first election day after 50 years, but it was not a fair election, and we declared it as such. Today, a fair and free election is being conducted for the first time in over 50 years in the country of Albania. And let's hope these people, I know they have the sense enough to do it, let's hope the communists don't steal enough votes so that they don't get their freedom. You agree? Well, while we're at it, let me just introduce a few other people. Let me start with my family. God forbid I don't start with my family, because that's really what brings us here together. Mom, stand up. You all know Graziella DioGuardi. Grace. And for all my Italian friends who said, hey, what happened? We thought you were Italian. Well, now you say you're Albanian. Hang on. Her maiden name is Paparella, right? Right? From the area of Giovinazzo, actually the town Giovinazzo, we have, I'll get to that in a minute, we have your kumbas here too as well, near Bari. But we have also my son John. John, stand up. John's on his vacation. Remember that little kid? He's growing up. My daughter at this point is on her way to the plane. She's going back to Duke University. This is her last year, and my wife is driving her. Hopefully she'll be here before the festivity ends. Now, seeing, oh, my sister I know went away with her husband. My brother's celebrating his anniversary, so other members of the family had important things to do today, and I didn't want to get them to change their family situation. Now, keeping with the conservatives, someone else, very important, Mr. Anthony Oricchio from Yonkers. Anthony, stand up. Thank you for coming. He's a conservative leader from Yonkers. Now, you notice how few politicians there are here? Why? It's early in the election, and only the ones that really feel secure come out because they're afraid to get caught in between before things are settled. A lot of them were invited, but I let them get off the hook. I said, this is politics, but you'll see. They'll be back here because there really is no choice. You've seen me as a congressman for 4 years. You've seen what I've done outside of Congress, probably more than any congressman in the last 3, and you could be sure I'm going to be back there in November with your help. Okay, let's talk about some of the, we have a steering committee. Since this was basically a St. Joseph's Day celebration, I decided to get my Italian friends together to be a steering committee, and I want to recognize some of them in the room today. We have from the Order Sons of Italy, and they are national officers. We have Joe Ife and Lucy Cordella. Lucy, Joe, stand up. We have the president of the Salerno Club here, Joe Camerata. Joe, stand up. And, you know, all these Italian clubs, they love soccer. I was, you know, I was kind of shocked because I went to see a meeting of the Salerno Club, and I figured I was going to meet their Italian soccer players. Most of the team is Albanian. What happens? You can't find Italian soccer players anymore? There were Albanians they got now playing soccer for the Salerno Club. It's unbelievable. But we have with us, and they're good, right? We have the Alfredo Palazzo, president of the Gruppo Sport of the Salerno Club. Thank you for coming. And we have a director of the Salerno Club, Luca Spensieri. Good, by the way, he's going to sing for us, I hope. He's got a great voice. At least one song before you go, Luca. Not right now, but at least one. And we have Mario Annunziata. He's the vice president of the Eastchester chapter of the Sons of Italy. Thank you for coming. And we have, and by the way, this is in no special order, and hopefully we get everybody. We have also with us my lodge of the Sons of Italy, the Meucci Lodge, and we have Teresa Riverso. Terry, thank you so much for coming. And her whole family is there at the table, and her son is very, very helpful to me, William. And we have also Laura Tresnick from the Heritage Lodge in New Rochelle, a good conservative. Thank you, Laura, for being here. And we have my mother's paisans. We have Marco Di Biasi and Dino Fiorentino from Madonna di Corsignana. Stand up, the people from Bari, or close to it. And we have someone representing my old turf, the Bronx, which may become my new turf, because they haven't decided what the district lines are yet. And it's very possible that my district will now cover all of Yonkers and the top part of the Bronx. We don't know. We're going to hear about it in a couple of weeks. But we have Peter Fiumfreda here, and he is important because he represents an organization, the Federation for European persons in that area, and he is the one that is now organizing a very big Columbus Day parade in the Bronx. Peter, stand up. Now, that parade, you know, says Columbus Day Parade on it, and this is a special one. We have our pride on the 500th anniversary of Columbus discovering America. And who knows? They say Columbus was Italian, some say he was Spanish, the Irish think he's Irish, maybe he's Albanian. We don't know. Now, the Italians are not going to like that. No, I withdraw that. I know he's Italian. He's Italian. The great sailor from Genoa. How could we forget him? Okay, let me see if I've got a few. Oh, and we've got, now you talk about the United Nations. Nope, let me forget. I've got another good group, always with me. My father was so happy to go down. They cook good food. They're from Mount Vernon. This is the Guardia Lombardi Club. I think it's called the Former Citizens of Guardia Lombardi. And we have the chairman and president, Al DeLeo, and my good friend, Mike DeSanto, and so many other good people there. Thank you so much for coming. The Scavone brothers, you do a good job. And if you want to see how the Italians have not only survived, but have flourished, you have to see how they respect each other and treat each other and their families at these beautiful clubs. The chapters of the Sons of Italy, the Guardia Lombardi, and the others. It's a way to keep the families together. Now, I know it's not easy to do today. I know the young people would rather go out somewhere than have a dance in the club, but we have to be smart enough to find a way to keep those young people closer to their parents and their grandparents. I know it's not easy. My father and mother had it, I think, a little easier than I do and you do. Why? They had a grocery store. It was a natural place for me to be with my sister and my brother. It kept us close, working together. We were hungry, we were poor. And when my father saved enough, we moved to Westchester County in 1957. But that's the American way. That's not just the story of Joe DioGuardi. That's the promise of America. That's the story of America. Here you can be who you want to be if you do a couple of things. You got a dream, but you got to work. And if you work, you're going to do it in America. America works for those who work. That's my new expression. America works for those who work. Does that mean that we're not going to help the people who are handicapped or the people who are really poor or the people who are displaced? No, we got to find those people and help them. But we can't shovel money at everybody because then they say, why should I go to work? Let them raise the others' taxes and I'll stay right here and collect. And that's what's happening, my friends, right now here in America. That's why your taxes are going up. You want to change it? Just tell the politicians, I don't care what it is, no new taxes. You got to make do with what you have, and you'll see how they become more efficient. But the more you send the money to Albany, or to the city, or to the country, they're going to say, hey, they must like what I'm doing, I better keep spending. And that's what they're doing right now. Do you agree? Okay. Let me keep going. Oh, I have now, my mother, you know, doesn't even live in my district. Where I was raised is Congressman Gilman's district, but we have the mayor of the town next to where my mother lives, Ellsford, Mayor Arthur DeAngelis. Thank you for coming, Arthur. Good man. Now I know my mother's garbage will be collected. No, that's Greenberg. That's not Ellsford. Okay, let me make sure now. You know, this is very tough stuff. If you miss one name, everything's gone. Let's see here. Oh. This was in no special order, as I told you, so I just got to keep going. We have someone very special to me, and she brought many, many members of her proud family, and I was with them at Fordham University at a communion breakfast just about 3 weeks ago, where her sister was honored. Now, here's a woman. This is Dr. Florinda Iannacci. She is the head of the Modern Languages Department at Fordham University. She's also obviously in charge of the Italian Studies program, Italian languages. And she always looks for opportunities to celebrate family, to celebrate the higher ideals that we aspire to. And certainly, spiritual faith is one of them. And to me, she is a very special person who never forgets to pray for, I know, me and many others. And I'm going to have her come up in a few minutes to say a few words. But she's here today, and I wanted to recognize her in particular because she did something that I think was beautiful. I guess as I remember it, Florinda, you have 10 children in your family, and your sister who you were honoring was the oldest and you're the youngest, or something like that. And here's the oldest sister. They're being honored with her husband, married over 50 years, and they have in the family 8 doctors. Can you imagine? Here they came to America, poor people, but in the family, 8 doctors, some physicians, some PhDs, and this is what America is all about. That people can come, like her sister and the Mignon family, and they're sitting here, and the Pallone family, and the Anachis, and dream and work, and they establish themselves. And they want to see the country preserved to keep doing that for others. And that's what I think politics is all about, to get the kind of people in that share our values and project our values and are not unwilling to stand up on tough issues. I was with the Cardinal yesterday. As you know, I'm a Knight of Malta, and yesterday we had a day of recollection. And after it, I went to speak to the Cardinal. Peter Grace was there too. And he's very happy because I told him something I'm going to tell you. I'm taking the right to life line. There is no doubt that that's an issue that we have to now make an issue. You know, everybody hears about these activists like Polly Rothstein and say, oh, we got to be afraid. Maybe we're not going to get the votes. Baloney. You know what we got to be afraid of? We got to be afraid that we're not doing as hard a work, the work that they're doing. They are activists. They get on the phone. They walk down the blocks. They call you day and night, and we're sitting there complaining, why do we have someone representing us that's pro-abortion? Because we're not crusading the way they are. You can be sure that I'm going to crusade on that issue. The Cardinal's behind me. The Archdiocese is behind me. I'm going to take the Right to Life party line. I'm going to work with the State Right to Life Committee, the National Right to Life Committee. For the first time, I'm going to bring them together, and we're going to win on that issue because it's the right issue to win on. Don't you agree? And even among our Jewish brethren, I know we have several here, and my good friends, the Sacks are here. God bless them. They work day and night in my office. Ken and Dave, stand up. Mr. Sack, that's Dave Sack, and his son, Ken, always in my office every day working for me. And you know, of all the large Jewish population we have in Westchester County, they're not all liberal. 20% of them are Orthodox. They already came to see me. We already had a blessing in my office. The Lubavitches came, and you know what they like most about me? The fact that I am going to fight abortion. The Orthodox Jews know what the true values are, and they're with us 100%. This morning in the Greek Orthodox Church, I heard the same thing from Father Peter. They also share the same values. And I know the Italians. Sure, some people are confused because pro-choice sounds so nice. But you know something? You got to give the benefit to life. And that's what we're going to do in my campaign. Okay. Now, we have my Irish friends with me, and I was proud this week to march in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. My good friend Jerry Sullivan made me one of the marshal's aides. I put on the slash. I didn't march in the front. I could have. They asked me to march with Gilman and Biaggi. I says, no, I'm going to march with the Con Edison Emerald Society. And boy, you know what? I never realized how popular the Con Edison people were, because everybody says, keep those lights burning. We need you. They were clapping and everything else. I think I picked the best part of the parade. And by the time I got to see the Cardinal, don't forget this started at about 12, I figured the Cardinal will never be out there at 4 o'clock. Sure enough, we go right in front of St. Patrick's. There's the Cardinal greeting us. I went up to say hello to him. And Jerry, thanks for doing that. We have Jerry here. We have Tim Murphy. And we also have Tim McNamara. Stand up. The Emerald Society, Ancient Order of Hibernians. And we have all the Irish behind us. So how could we lose with all these good people? And that's what this is. This is a celebration, not just of family, but the brotherhood of man and woman. And in this little room is kind of like a United Nations. We have Albanians. We have Italians. We have some Greeks. In fact, this morning, Joe Keane, it doesn't sound like a Greek name, does it? He's Irish, but his wife is Greek. Stand up. I just want you to say hello, Joe Keane and Mrs. Keane. And I was pleased today that Joe remembered me, and I get home at 2 in the morning because I spoke at the Italian Protective Association meeting last night at Alex and Henry's after I left in Albanian, and I get home 2 o'clock in the morning, and there's a message from Joe Keane. Tomorrow we celebrate our Greek independence. And I had forgotten that the Greeks also got rid of the Ottoman Turks, but they did it long before the Albanians 171 years ago, and today they celebrate Greek Independence Day. Let's just clap for that, because that's good. And it was nice to be there, Joe. Thank you for inviting me. I thought it was really, really wonderful. Okay, so we've got everybody covered here, I think. Let me see. Now, not everybody, because we have some very special Albanian guests here today. Now, whether you're Albanian, Greek, Italian, the one thing that everyone appreciates are people who are so dedicated to freedom, so dedicated to see their people treated like everybody else is treated, that they're willing to even go to jail for it. And in this room today is someone that is so special, not just to the Albanian people, but to the European community, because just 2 months ago he was given the Sakharov Award from the European Parliament, and he competed with many other ethnic groups. This gentleman, when I was a congressman, I put resolutions in because he was still in jail. When you see his face and you see his smile, you'll see God's face, because you'll say to yourself, how could someone spend 28 years in jail and still come out fighting for his people? And that's the man we have with us today. This is the first time he's ever been to America. He came in for a big dinner last night that I was honored to speak at with my friends, my Albanian friends from Montenegro. And he's a special person. Think about it. Under the heels, or the heel, the boot of Serbian communism, this man would not say what they wanted him to say. He said the reverse. He said, my Albanian people must be free. And they kept throwing him back in jail 3 different times, but you add up the years, 28 years, more years than Nelson Mandela. No one has spent more years and lived to tell about it than this man. His name is Adem Demaci. Stand up, Adem. Stand up. Come here. Come here, Adem, come here. Come here. Take a good look at that face, because, you know, I hear from my Italian friends about the Albanians. Does that look like an Italian Roman face to you? Don't forget, the Illyrian Empire, these people are the remnants of families to Israel last year, and yet they respect each other. But 500 years ago, every Albanian was Christian, until the Turks came in, and that's how my father's people got to Italy, because they didn't want to be converted. They took the 60-mile trip across the Adriatic, landed in Brindisi, found a nice high mountaintop near Ariano Irpina. Until today, you go to my father's village, Greci, outside of Ariano, near Avellino. They speak Albanian and Italian. They haven't forgotten their culture, and they haven't left faith with their people. But Italy allowed them to do it, so we celebrate both, Italy and Albania. And when you hear names like Demaci, that's a name that goes back, one of the original Albanian names going back, not having been changed by the Turks. Like the great general, they called him Iskander Beg, but his name was George Castriati, just like Italian. So there is a family of man, and that's the point. This is a brotherhood of man, and I'm so delighted to have my first fundraiser, because I've had a few already in Chicago, New York City. This is the first one in Westchester County with so many good people representing the family values, the spiritual values, and the political values that I share, and we have to learn to work together, because we all have a little bit of a different thing that we want, but if we go to the essence of life and we go to the heart of people, we're no different, we're all the same. And if we learn to respect each other, this world becomes a beautiful place. And that's what's going to go on in Europe for the next 20, 30, or 40 years. All these borders, they're going to be meaningless. They're going to get rid of passports. They're going to get rid of tariffs. There's going to be one currency. We're stuck in it right now, kind of like the riptide of history, but you watch what happens in 20 years. But God forbid you change a border today, because the Greeks think there are Albanians, you know, in Greece, and the Albanians think there are, or the Greeks think there are Greeks in Albania, the Albanians think there are Albanians in Greece, the Macedonians have the Bulgarians, the Greeks and the Albanians, the Serbs have Lord knows what. You can't draw any new lines. There'd be World War III. What we have to do is respect people for where they are. And once we do that, all the problems go away. Don't you agree? Now, some other very, very prominent Albanian guests, good people. Let me introduce first Mark Krasniqi. Mark Krasniqi came all the way from Kosovo. Here's a man who has dedicated his life to his people. You know, today, there are still Albanians that have these old feuds going on. And they don't know why they started, but they started hundreds of years ago, and they have to be terminated. This is the new age. He travels around the world getting these families together to break the feud so they can live together. Thank you for what you're doing, Mark. I appreciate it. We also have a very prominent Albanian from Montenegro, and his name is Gjurj Jokai. He is a doctor, professor, but he's a leader for his people. Stand up, Gjurj. There are over 100,000 Albanians in Montenegro. And now we have an Albanian from Albania. We have one there too. There are 3 million Albanians in Albania, 2 million in Kosovo, 1 million in Macedonia, about 150,000 in Montenegro, and now from the motherland, Albania, we have Jup Kastrati. Thank you for coming. And they support everything I do, not you. I hope they're serving coffee. Are the waiters serving the coffee and the cake? Yes, Zeppelin is coming. You see, we have another very wonderful professor, and I would never forget him, except when I prepared this list, he wasn't here. He came in a little later. But Professor Carlo Sclafani. Carlo, where are you? Yes. Thank you for coming. You know, you talk about doing good work and projecting the values of the people that you represent. He is a professor at the Westchester Community College in the Italian language. He also has done so much to get the children, the younger Italians, involved in our culture. I think Circolo Italiano, the Italian Circle, is one of the groups, Professor. Thank you for all you're doing. I appreciate it. I got to hire Florinda as my assistant from now on. It's someone else, that's true. And I had it here and I missed it. And sorry. Dr. Mike Chaffee, where are you? Thank you so much. Here he is, right here. Thank you so much for being on the steering committee. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Congressman DioGuardi. I just asked to say a few words. And simply is this: we are here because we are friends of the Congressman. Not only because he is a wonderful person and we know the family and he stands for family values and for what America stands for, but we are here because he was our Congressman and we liked what he did and we like what he stands for. So we must study the issues which he represents. He represents the family, he represents values, he represents the right to be free, the right to worship our own way, the right to respect one another, to live together. It's beautiful to see how he has taken the Albanian cause. I've heard some say, but you know, how about for the Italians? He's Italian. Well, few days ago, we learned in the gospel of the prodigal son. The prodigal son took whatever he went, and he went away, and then he found himself that after he had spent everything, he said, I better go back to my father. And the son who had been there all along, he says, Papa, you never gave us anything, you never gave me a party, and here's your son, he spent everything, and now we're having a big party. And the father says, well, rejoice with me, because he was lost. In the sense, what is Joe doing? Those who need help. He's helping those who need help. Italy right now does not need any help, thank God for that. They are doing fine. The Albanians need his help, so he's showing to direct his energies in the humanity of our family, which is the world. They need his help right now. They need our help. So we should get behind him and see what we could do for Albania and the rest of the other countries who need that help. And as a congressman, he can really do it. So that we now have to get behind Joseph. We are his friends. He needs our help to be reelected. Whenever we know that there is a group together, we should invite Joseph so he can say a few words. So he's well known, but he has to be closer to the people and touch to the people. So whenever there is a gathering, whenever there is a meeting of, where there is a club and there is large enough and wide enough, make sure that you do invite Joseph to speak to the people. Make sure that you get people to vote for him, anyone you know in his district, because that's how we show love and respect for one another. We cannot be indifferent together. So as a family of God, as citizens of the United States, as citizens of Westchester, those who are able to vote for him, let's get behind Joseph, advertise for him, make him known, invite him, because he's a great congressman and he's going to represent all of us well, and he's going to stand for our values, and God is going to be with him, so we will be on the right side when we will be with Joseph. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Oh, yeah, when I mentioned, thank you very much, Florinda, for those kind words. You know, I was just thinking here, isn't this nice to see the Albanian flag, the Italian flag, and the American flag? That's a pretty good combination, don't you think? Pretty good combination. And I was also proud, and I'll say it for my Italian friends, you have to see what Italy is doing for Albania right now, because when I was there, I saw the blocks and blocks and blocks of Italian trucks with the Italian army with food and medicine being taken into Albania, so that Italy is doing its share even till today. Not only 500 years ago did King Alphonse from Naples let in tens of thousands of Albanians to be who they wanted to be for asylum, but today I think the best hope for Albania is going to be that great country of Italy that is so strong. And we talk about, you know, coalitions, and we talk about bridges. And Jerry, I'm glad that you reminded me, because our good friend here, Jerry Sullivan, represents the Coalition Against Discrimination and Quotas. Now, what does that mean? Well, you know, a lot of people are losing their jobs today because everybody says, well, we have to have 5 of this, 3 of that, and they're not looking at who's producing. And that's the wrong way to do it. And that's why I'm against quotas. Sure, we got to help everybody, but you can't help someone by taking the job away from someone else. Don't you agree? So the coalition that he has, the member organizations are the Colombian societies, the Emerald societies, the Steuben societies, those are the German, the Council of Jewish Organizations, the Pulaski associations, and guess who else? The Albanians, the Albanian American Civic League. So we're part of that coalition. Thank you, Jerry. Well, I told a few of you before what's going on today. And by the way, before I go further, did I see Kara and Carol walk in before out of the corner of my eye? Are they here? Oh, my wife and my daughter came in. Isn't that nice? Carol, stand up, and Kara. I guess she decided to get a late plane. Here she is. But let me go over this symbolism again, because I really think this sends a message. I was going to the airport on Tuesday, leaving Albania. I guess it was Monday. And I had the cab driver stop. And I ran up in the middle of this vineyard. Now, Albania is like Italy. They grow a lot of, grapes and nuts and olives. And here was a huge field of vineyards, grapevines. And you know how they have the big sticks holding them up? Well, on top of every stick, and these were concrete poles, is a sword like this. Now, why this sword? You see, this is not what the Albanian people did to themselves or wanted to do to Americans, but this is what communism did to them. Because they had a leader who convinced them that the Americans were such devils that they might come down by parachutes, that we have to put this on the top of every grapevine so they get stuck as they land. Would you believe it? And I brought one back here with me because I'm proud to say that this is now the past. After today, Albania will be a democratic state. This is gone. Okay? And you know what has replaced this in Albania? Because it was an atheistic state, again, misguided communism. You see this statue of the Madonna? This was given to me by Mother Teresa herself. She's Albanian. She has a convent in a church in Albania. I went to pray with her, the Memorare. I was in Jesuit schools 8 years, so I know all those complicated prayers. And she was so impressed, she had her sister nun go upstairs to get Mr. DioGuardi, her traveling companion. And I didn't know what she meant by traveling companion. And they came down with the statue. She blessed it, kissed it. And she says, whenever you travel to help people, put this in your pocket. And I always bring this with me. Now, this is the future of Albania, because now they've opened the churches. I went to Mass in the cathedral in Tirana with Mother Teresa last Easter Sunday. And now they've opened up the Greek Orthodox Cathedral and the ones in Skodra, and the mosques are being opened. So the country has changed. This is the past, this is the future. Aren't you happy? And we also have here from the Mayuchi Lodge, and how could I forget him, the president of the lodge, Frank Magnata. Stand up. Thank you for coming, Frank. And we have Dr. Domenico Mignone and Paolo Mignone from the Italian Cultural Institute. Stand up. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Well, let me conclude by saying that the elections this year are probably the most important elections we will face in this country for at least another 10 years. Why? Well, you know, locally there's been redistricting. And when you redistrict, you create opportunities that will not come up again for another 10 years to change things. I think this time the redistricting is going to be fair. 10 years ago, it was not fair. The people in power gerrymandered things so much, especially in California, they created severe imbalances, and that's why the House of Representatives today has such a very bad imbalance between Republicans and Democrats. That's not right. Why is it not right? It's not right because they got there using unfair election practices, but it's not right for another reason. When you have so much control over something, you become arrogant. As Lord Acton said, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. You saw what happened in these communist countries. Did they share the wealth? No, the few at the top. Look what happened in East Berlin. They had hunting preserves. They had cigars from Cuba. They had the finest brandy. They had Mercedes-Benzes. They send their kids to schools in Switzerland, and the rest of the country's going to pot. That's what happened in Albania. That's what happened in Romania. Communism became a disease because the people at the top had so much control, they got arrogant. They figured they could get away with this forever, and look what they did. Impose the worst system that God has ever seen in the world on their own people. Because Albanians did this to Albanians, and Germans did it to Germans, but they were sick with power. There are people in Washington right now that are sick with power. Look at the papers. Could you believe what you're reading? Not only the checks being bounced, and by the way, I got my letter this week. I'm clean. I didn't bounce one check in 4 years. All right? And that's even more important for me because I have a book coming out nationally. It took me 3 years to get this book out. And you know what the name of the book is? Unaccountable Congress. It doesn't add up. The only CPA elected now indicts Congress. Can you imagine if I bounced the check? It would be over. But look at the arrogance of power. Look at what they've done to the House of Representatives. You want to take one example? My daughter called me from Duke one time. She was watching the Clarence Thomas, Anita Hill thing. This is now the Senate. And when I say the House, I mean the Senate too. They're both the same. And she says, Dad, you know, it's interesting, but all I see are men up there. The first thing I said to Kara was, that's not a problem. That's your opportunity. You're only 21. By the time you're 35, you'll be a senator. Because they're going to half that panel is going to be women. And you watch it. And it will be. But the thing is, the people that were there pontificating about what Clarence Thomas may have done, Anita Hill may have done, they exempted themselves from all the sexual harassment laws that they put on the people. And would you believe if you go down all the major bills passed in Congress, even Social Security, even the disability legislation, they're not subject to it. They exempted themselves. I have one chapter in my book on this. You know what I named that chapter? A House of ill repute, do as I say, not as I do. That's chapter 6 of the book. Because today, if you want to pass laws on us, you have to be prepared to live under those laws yourself, or else don't pass those laws. Do you agree? Okay. Problem we have today with that imbalance of 260 or 70 Democrats and 160 or 70 Republicans, it is such an imbalance, it's created an arrogance of power, and now you saw what happened to the sergeant-at-arms that ran the bank. He's resigned. Look at the postmaster. Now there's a scandal. They think they've been selling dope in the post office. Worse than that, people were going in, buying stamps with cash from their campaigns, and later on they cashed the stamps in for the cash again. We don't know where the money went. You wait and see what's going to come out in the next 2 months. I don't think they can write a soap opera as good as what you're going to see in the press. And my book uncovers it all, because I saw this when I was there. Okay? Do I want to see America down? No. But if we can't make America work in the finest, most efficient way, how is this country going to maintain its status as a #1 power? Look at how we're slipping already. Look at Japan. Let me tell you a little story. 50 years ago, there was a country called Japan. What was it? It was beaten. It was vanquished. It needed us to put it back on its feet. Where was the United States 50 years ago? We controlled 60% of the gross national product of the world. We set the table for the economic feast. We invited everybody around. What happened in 50 years? Now we're the largest debtor country, and Japan is like a #1 economic power. How could this have happened? I'll tell you how. It's in my book. Read it. The epilogue of the book. We taught Japan things after World War II that we forgot. We taught them how to save, we taught them how to plan, we taught them how to produce, and we forgot to do it. And that's what's happened to America. We got to go back to those old values. All right? With that, I think you've heard enough from me. I really appreciate your coming. I would like my mom to come up for a minute, and Kara and John and Carol, come on up. Let them see the family together. That's what this is all about. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. And it's not easy when you try to go for high office. I have to, as I said in the book, I had to give my family, obviously, the highest tribute for the patience, because there's a lot of dissension in my family. No one likes to see your name dragged through the paper. But if I'm going to listen to what everybody else says, and I don't believe myself, then I may deprive you of the right kind of representation you need. So I have to fight, but it's not easy on them, because they read the papers, they hear their friends, and yet I believe I have to do what I have to do, and they had a lot of patience putting up with it. And again, there were mixed emotions about me running, there's no question about it, but I think we're going to hang in there together, and I hope we're going to succeed, but I want to give them a round of applause because of the patience that they've had. Okay? There's no question that when you run for high office, the family is always involved and affected, even if they don't want to be involved, because that's what it's all about. That's politics. It's interacting with so many different kinds of people. Well, I thought I would conclude by bringing Mom up here because, you know, I could bring anyone to speak, but I think she's the oldest now in the family. She doesn't look it, but would you believe that Mom will be 79 on her next birthday? Work didn't hurt her. And I'd like her to come up and tell that little story. We have to go back now to St. Joseph's Day. And picture this. This is September 20th, 1940, a little apartment in the, they now call it the South Bronx. In those days, I think they call it the East Bronx. But come on up and tell the story in your own words. All right. If you don't want to, good. Say hello. Come here. Just say hello to the people, guys. Say hello.
All I want to say is that I'm so happy to see all of you today. My life feels so enriched to see everybody here today. I love you all, and let's hope that we can do it more and more as the days come by, okay? I love you all.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Well, again, God bless all of you for coming, and you'll be hearing from me in the future. This race is likely to be the most hotly contested race in the United States of America, and I'm up to it, and especially with you, I need your help. There's no question we're going to win in November. Thank you very much.
Joe, let me say,
Up.
and I'm proud to
Mom
be,
wants the mic.
I'm proud to be an Italian, Albanian, and a true American. And let's hope that we're all that way.
What a politician. Thank you very much.